Senator Bernie Sanders. Senator, good morning. You saw those new poll numbers. Is Hillary Clinton's campaign in trouble?
Well, I don't know if her campaign is in trouble, but our campaign is doing great. You know, it's not just in Iowa, it's in New Hampshire, it's all across this country, Martha. I think people are responding to our message that something is wrong when the middle class of this country continues to disappear. People are working longer hours for lower wages, and almost all of the new wealth and income is going to the top 1%. That is not the type of country, not the type of economy that the American people want or deserve. And I think they're prepared to support somebody who is going to take on the billionaire class and make an economy work for ordinary people, not just for the people on top.
Well, Senator Sanders, Hillary Clinton has lost about a third of her supporters since May, but the polls don't show those supporters, a significant number, are not heading your way. Why not, given what you've said?
Well, the poll that I saw said that there was massive enthusiasm for the message that we're delivering, and that the vast majority of the people who are voting for me in that Iowa poll, and I think it's true all over this country, are not necessarily anti-Hillary Clinton. They're pro-Bernie Sanders. And they want a candidate who is not dependent upon super PACs, a candidate who is prepared to take on and overturn this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision, help have the United States lead the world in combating climate change, make college affordable to all people. I have to tell you, Martha, I think the gains that we are seeing and the enthusiasm and the huge crowds that we are seeing, this is not anti-Hillary Clinton. This is pro-Bernie Sanders and pro a message that says enough is enough. This country and our government belong to all of us, not just a handful of very wealthy people.
Senator Sanders, let me read you a couple of headlines here on the national front, where Hillary Clinton has a very comfortable lead. They say, the Bloomberg on Friday, Clinton camp claims it's already secured 1/5 the delegates needed for nomination. New York Times on Friday, Bernie Sanders faces skepticism from Democratic insiders. Don't you need those Democratic insiders because she is doing well on the national level? How do you compete on the national level?
Well, Martha, a couple of points. First of all, the article is right. In terms of the establishment, in terms of the Democratic insiders, she is way ahead of us. I'm not going to argue that. But these Democratic leaders are not dumb. What they want and what I want is to make sure that we do not see a Republican gain control over the White House. And I think as these leaders look around the country and see the kind of energy, to see the kind of huge turnouts we're getting, seeing the kind of young people who for the first time are getting involved in the political process, see the kind of working people who are coming out to our events. I think what these leaders, maybe not today, but in a couple of months will say, you know, we want to win. And we know the only way we can win is when there are large voter turnouts.
Would you encourage Joe Biden to jump in the race? Would you encourage Joe Biden to jump in the race?
Well, it's not for me to encourage or discourage. That's Joe Biden's decision. Joe is a friend of mine, a very decent human being. And all I can say about that, again, is that for Democratic leaders, they need we all need a large voter turnout to win. Republicans win when they suppress the vote, when they make it harder for people to vote, when people don't vote. When young people and working people come out in large numbers, as I think they will for Bernie Sanders, we're going to win this election.
You know, Senator Sanders, this morning again, we know you've been voicing great concern about the middle class, the cost of college, climate change, and yet there are two issues that are entirely missing from your campaign website, and those are issues of national security and foreign policy. Don't you feel these are issues that a president should be very concerned about?
Absolutely, Martha. And we will, you know, in all fairness, we've only been in this race for 3.5 months. And we've been focusing quite correctly, as you've indicated, on the economy, on the collapse of the American middle class, on massive income and wealth inequality. But you're absolutely right. Foreign policy is a huge issue. Let me just say a word or two about that. And we are going to spend more time on that. You are looking at a senator and a former congressman. And as a congressman, I voted against the war in Iraq, which I think will go down in history as one of the worst foreign policy blunders that we have ever seen, leading to the enormous destabilization of that region right now. But the issue of foreign policy, how we bring the world together, our allies together, not do it alone, to take on ISIS, to deal with the other threats and problems around the world.
Senator Sanders, you brought up the Iraq War.
I promise you will address it.
You also voted against the first Gulf War in 1991 when Saddam Hussein had invaded Kuwait. You did not support air attacks after chemical attacks in Syria. You did support the initial invasion into Afghanistan. So can you tell me what your criteria is for the use of force?
Yes, good question, a fair question. Look, I think historically, in too many instances, the United States has gone to war often unilaterally when we should not have. I think my vote against the first war in the Gulf region was the right vote. I think we could have gotten Saddam Hussein out of Kuwait in a way that did not require a war. And I think certainly my vote against the war in Iraq will go down.
Even though Kuwait?
I know, but the point was you had the whole world united against him, Martha. Do we need to go to war in every instance, or can we bring pressure of sanctions and international pressure to resolve these conflicts? Look, I am supporting President Obama's effort to make certain that Iran does not get a nuclear weapon. But I get very nervous about my Republican friends who keep implying that the only way we could do that is through another war. War is the last resort, not the first resort. So you are looking at a guy. Yeah, there are times when you have to use force. No question about it. But
and is that only when we're attacked? Is that only when we're attacked? Because if you look at your record, you supported the invasion into Afghanistan after we were attacked. Is that the only time you would support it?
No, not at all. Not at all. You know, I think using our military is an option, obviously, that we will always have under certain circumstances. But it is the last option. And I applaud the president for trying to make certain that we stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, but we do it in a way that does not require war. The second point that I would make is the United States cannot do it alone. In the Middle East, Saudi Arabia has the third largest military budget in the entire world. They're going to have to get in and take on ISIS, as well as other countries in that region. The United States should be supportive. We should be working with other countries. But the United States cannot always be the only country involved in these wars.
Let me go back to the Iran agreement that you brought up and your support of that agreement. Can you imagine Iran or Russia signing some sort of agreement in the future, given your record on your reluctance to use force? Because there is always that threat of force. But they may look at you and say, Bernie Sanders wouldn't do anything about this.
Well, I think they would be making a very, very big mistake. I believe that the United States should have the strongest military in the world. We should be working with other countries in coalition. And when people threaten the United States or threaten our allies or commit genocide, the United States with other countries should be prepared to act militarily. But I think when we look at our recent history, again, especially the war in Iraq, I think history will record that is a terrible mistake, which has led to massive destabilization and many other problems. So, yes, there are times when you have to use military force. No question about it. I am prepared to do that.
Would you do away with the drone program? Would you do away with the drone program? Because you have clearly had problems with that. You didn't vote for CIA Director John Brennan because of the drone program and how it was run.
I think Martha, what you can argue is that there are times and places where drone attacks have been effective. There are times and places where they have been absolutely counter-effective and have caused more problems than they have solved. When you kill innocent people, what the end result is that people in the region become anti-American who otherwise would not have been. So I think we have to use drones very, very selectively and effectively. That has not always been the case.